Disclaimer: This episode discusses suicidal ideations and extreme content that may be triggering to some. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158.
I sat there with that for a minute, not knowing what was going on, how did I get here, where am I, type deal. And so the fire department had a fire department chaplain, and he was a captain. And I wasn't friendly with him, never had much of a conversation with him. And but that's who I called. And he came out there and talked to me and took me back to the therapist office. And they were, without me knowing it, obviously, they were getting me lined up to go to a psych hospital.
Right.
Called my wife. They told her that I was going to go to the hospital. She didn't know what for. I was asking her about it not long ago. She said, all you said was, I'm okay. I'll be all right. I'll call you later. You know, I might have said, I'm good. You know, and if you ask somebody, especially a male, I don't know about women, but if you ask a dude, hey man, you okay? Yeah, I'm good. You sure? I'm good. They're not good. Something's going on, right? And if you love that person, it's upon you to dig a little bit deeper. So he takes me to this mental hospital. They put me on a 72-hour hold, and then the condition of my employment was that I do group therapy for 5 days a week for 6 weeks, I think it was. And I was in there with predominantly women, and their biggest problem was their lack of coping skills. And that's what they talked about. You know, they laughed and this and that, and that was so unimportant to me. I couldn't talk within that group, I felt. So, you know, I just told them what they wanted to hear so I could move on. And once I got through group therapy, I didn't seek therapy ever again until many years later.
Right. So that inevitably, that's what led you to Warrior's Heart. So I know you had an experience where you were supposed to attend outpatient treatment or inpatient treatment or something like that.
Yeah. So in 2018, I became very suicidal. Everything was coming back. You know, and whether it's military or first responders, usually PTS will start to rear its head 6 to 11 years after you leave the job.
Right.
And it was 11 years for me, on the dot almost. And I worked a job where I took care of hunting land for a nonprofit, and that nonprofit would invite special operations dudes, duck hunting and deer hunting. And I would take them duck hunting and deer hunting. So it's really right up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
But I spent so much time alone in the spring, summer, and early fall that it wasn't good for me. And I didn't know it, you know. And I would just end up with my pistol in my mouth with, the pistol that I had, the safety was in the trigger. Depress it enough and it disengages the safety, and apply about 3 more pounds and it'll discharge. And and I thought about it, and then I came up with a plan. And my plan was to go to this pond. It was a city park. I had my pistol, and when nobody was there, I was going to swim out there. I was going to shoot myself. But so my plan was, let me back up. So my plan was to swim out to this lake. It's a pond. It wasn't a lake. It was a pond.
Yeah.
And wait till nobody was there. I was just going to shoot myself in the water because, I had to pick up skull fragments, brain matter, put them in bags, take them to the morgue along with the body. And I didn't want somebody to have to do that. And I stayed there till after midnight, almost 12 hours. And somebody was always there. Always. So I went home, didn't tell nobody, what was going on in my head. And then maybe a week later, 10 days later, our air conditioner went out. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. And it just tipped me over the edge. I was having all these problems leading up to it, some flashbacks, nightmares, drinking a lot every day, So I grabbed my hammock, a cooler with a 30-pack, and some hot dog buns. And I was just going to start a fire, chill in my hammock, get super drunk, have some hot dogs. Now, this was a lake, like 30,000 acres of lake. And I don't really remember where I drove to around this lake, but I know that there was nobody remotely close to me. So it's about to get dark, and I turned my phone off because I didn't want to be pinged. My wife knew that because I called her and told her goodbye. But almost dark, and 2 vehicles drive by me, and they get out. There's 2 different families, got their kids. They're setting up camp about 50 yards from me. And it really made me mad. Because I had made my mind up.
Right.
If I can see it, I can do it, and I saw it. So I just remember telling myself, this isn't going to stop me. They're going to go to sleep. And I'll just swim farther out there to where if I change my mind, I still can't get back. And so I'm drunk. I turned my phone back on. I'm scrolling through Facebook. And I worked in the town at the fire department named Jacksonville is the name of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw where a police officer was on duty in his police car, pulled up to the police station, and he shot himself.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was man, I wonder if I knew that guy. So I text my old partner, who is a great dude. And his dad was a fire chief at a neighboring city. And he would go home and tell his family, I'm probably going to get fired because of this guy that I'm working with, because I was off the rails. Okay? And that's who I reached out to. He said, oh, yeah, we did this, we did that. So, all right, cool. And he kept texting me and kept texting me. He figured out that something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew why I left the fire department, why I had to quit.
Yeah.
And so eventually I send him where I'm at. Sometime middle of the night, he shows up, and I already been in the water, had my pistol. He had to talk me, up to where he was. And he had to talk my pistol out of my hands. And his wife's a nurse. He didn't know what to do, right? So they decide the best place for me is a mental hospital. So I go there and put me on a 7-day hold and got me out of crisis mode. And being that I was self-employed, my insurance, didn't cover mental health. So I remember I'm in there, and I hated the people in there. They were in there for drugs or whatever. And their problems weren't nothing compared to mine, I thought. Which is not true. You can't judge what somebody's going through. That's them.
Right.
But I remember telling this therapist, she asked a question, and then I don't even remember what the question was or what I told her. All I remember is her mouth was wide open in disbelief or shock or something, right? And just to my stupid mind, I thought, she's like a flycatcher. Flycatchers with their mouths wide open?
Yeah.
That's the first thing that I thought, And but I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't talk no more, because you feel like you're getting judged. You're just being judged,
Right.
And that made me feel weak, right? And so I got out, and being that my health insurance didn't cover mental health, they didn't refer me to anybody. I had to figure out who to try and go to, what kind of person do I need to see. They're so expensive. I needed to get back to work, so I could pay for my shitty insurance.
Right.
And it was a struggle, because I had to tell some people what I've been going through, friends, right? And they end up finding a therapist that was a therapist at a police department, and he had been a paramedic, so he understood some of it. And so that was the start of any real therapy. And not every therapist is right for every person. I went through probably 7 different therapists. And I've ended up back with that original dude, But trying to figure that out was really difficult.
Right.
You know, so I'm seeing my therapist, and then he sends me to a nurse practitioner to manage my meds, and I had been put on a certain medication that is an SSI. I was already taking it at a low dose for neuropathy pain. They just upped the dose to the max dose. And I'd been on it for that max dose for maybe a month. Go in there, and with most SSIs, you can't just quit taking it cold turkey.
Right.
But that's what she did. And she put me on Prozac. And me and Prozac, we didn't get along. I didn't realize we didn't get along. But my therapist started telling me, hey, man, you need to go get checked in so you can change your meds. I was like, I don't need to go back in. I don't want to go back in, and I ain't going back in, you know?
Right.
So he kept on and he kept on. And somehow he convinced me, you know, to go into this one place. He said it's really low key. There's not many people usually there, but you have to go through an ER, right, to send you to their mental health side.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, all right. So that's what I did. And I'm in the ER, and Melanie, I think, took me. And, you know, they said that they're going to admit me and this and that. The nurse did. They hadn't even, like, taken my address or my phone number, none of that stuff. So she leaves, thinking that's where I'm going to be. Well, these two doctors come in, ER doctors, and they're like, so what's going on? You know, they're talking to me. And so, are you wanting to hurt yourself? I said, no, not at all. You know, my therapist wants me to get in here so I can be put on a different med. And, well, who's that therapist? I told him. We've never heard of him. Like, okay, you know. And they didn't ask me, like, any personal questions. They just said, if you were going to kill yourself, how would you do it? I said, well, they've hidden my guns from me. So I guess I'd take my knife and cut my femoral artery out. I'd be dead in 30 seconds. They kind of stepped back, you know. Well, how would you know how to do that? I said, well, I was a paramedic. I know about the femoral artery. I've seen those injuries. They said, well, since you know how to do that, we're going to put you on a 7-day hold. And, like, I lost it. So they called security. I calmed down. And I just waited till they weren't paying attention. And I snuck out.
It's like, oh, God.
And I walked through the parking lot and walked to this restaurant. My phone, it was deader than a hammer. So I just asked somebody, I said, hey, I need to call my wife. My phone's dead. Can I use your phone? And they did. And I called my wife, and she showed up, and she was pissed. I know I couldn't understand why she was so pissed, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was just fed up. Years and years of dealing with me, you know. I mean, I never cussed her. I never called her a name. None of that. Never even, obviously, I mean, I never raised my hand to her, ever, or our kids. But she was she was done, tired, wanted me to get help.
Right.
So, you know, police were driving around, and so she comes and she picks me up and takes me back home. And then a couple of days later, I go in to that nurse practitioner. She puts me on another 7-day hold, so, right? And I was done with 7-day holds. And so, like, I tell her to get out, and I'm not. And she's like, you got a choice to make. Either go on your own or I'm going to call the police. And I said, well, I'm not going. She's like, you don't have a choice. I said, ladies, one thing about me, I'll always have a choice, whether it be right or wrong. I'll make a choice. And so I said, I'll let you know what I decide. She leaves. She comes back really quick. Kind of like a Colonel Klink of nurses. You know who Colonel Klink was?
Yeah.
Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah, Hogan's Heroes, yes. Yeah.
And she came back in. I was like, get the F out of here, and blah. I'm yelling, turn over the exam table, throwing chairs in this little room, just acting an idiot. And somehow, I don't know if I had called this dude or what, but I called him. He showed up, he showed up. And he wasn't no first. He had never seen nothing bad, you know. Never seen a fight, never been in a fight probably, you know. And never seen this side of me for sure. So he comes in and says, hey, man, let's get out of here. And I'm walking out, and I see this guy staring at me. This comes from my childhood. My dad would get so far in my face, and he would just stare at me.
Yeah.
You know, before he would do whatever he was going to do next. And, like, I didn't like nobody staring at me at any time. And I saw him staring, and I yelled at him, you better quit staring at me. And sure, I know why he was staring at me. I didn't think of it at the moment, right? I mean, this big guy is doing something in that room, and it's scary, you know, yelling and screaming and all kinds of racket. But I told him, and he kept staring, and I just went straight for him. I grabbed him up and told him, quit looking at me, quit staring at me. And that friend of mine, he got in between us. Later, he told me, I've never been so scared in my life. You know, he'd never seen nothing like that. And we leave, and I go back, end up going to the very first mental hospital I went back to. And same result. You know, they try to get me to do group therapy, make a little bit of a scene. They tell you to leave, give you some Ativan, you go take a nap. That's kind of how I thought of it.
How to work that system.
Yeah. I knew how to play the system.
Yeah.
You know? But while I was there on that second time, I started having inappropriate conversations with this friend of ours, a woman. And for the whole 7 days, you know, several times a day, it was la la. And I'm being put on new meds, and I get put on Klonopin.
Mm-hmm.
And Klonopin made me not feel nothing. I cared about nothing, right? I mean, the ion ship from Mother Planet could have come down, and I wouldn't have cared at all. And so I get out of my 7 days is up, get out. And Melanie, her dad, had been working in New Orleans. And he was pretty serious. He had a really bad staph infection. I mean, they had to open his arm up, and it was pretty bad. And she was wanting to go. But she was, you know, she wanted to stay there with me. I was like, yeah, you go, I'm good. Again, I'm good, right? I wasn't good. And I ended up sleeping with that lady. And ended up leaving my family. I'd go back, you know, for a couple of days, and then I'd leave. But I lied to her. You know, I told her I was camping, sleeping in the woods. I had my hammock. And it was all a lie. you know. And when you're in that kind of sin, all you're going to do is lie.
Yeah.
You lie to yourself, you lie to your family, you lie to God. But while I was doing that, I started abusing Klonopin. I was supposed to take one in the morning, one at night. Well, I would take 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, and again, I work by myself. I drink a case of beer, you know. Then I'd get back to that lady's house. I'd stop and get a fifth of something. I'd take 5 or 6 and I'd drink that fifth. There's weeks that I don't remember. When I was going through all that, my wife is searching for a place for me to get help. And she tells me, she said, I found this place and they only work with military and first responders. And I was like, I don't need no help. I'm good. I'm good now. Don't worry about me. So a guy called and I just, blew him off. He told me, gave me the spiel and whatnot. And I said, man, I'm okay. Seeing a therapist. I got my meds. And then, I don't know, a couple months later, maybe, I was loaded and woke up at sometime middle of the night, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe. And I'm just a mess. I'm crying. I'm kind of confused. So I look up Warrior's Heart and I send him an email to call me. And I slept. I went outside. I used to sleep outside quite a bit on the back porch or wherever. And so they called me at 7 o'clock straight up. Started talking to me and asking questions, and it was expensive. I knew my insurance wouldn't cover it. I didn't have that kind of money, and so they said, well, there's scholarships. People donate money for people like you, and we have scholarships. He said, give me a couple of weeks and I can get you in. I was like, I don't have a couple of weeks. I'll be dead. Whether it's an overdose, of taking everything that I had, taking and with copious amounts of alcohol. They said, all right, I'll call you back in 30 or 45 minutes, I think he said. And he called back and he said, can you be here in 2 weeks? I said, yeah, I can be there in 2 weeks. I say 2 weeks. I can't really remember. Maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month. But I say 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. That's how it seemed. And he said, all right, cool. Well, what he didn't tell me, that he was continuing to talk to Melanie. And she had to come up with, I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000 maybe. And I had no idea. Because if so, I wouldn't have gone.
Right.
And somebody set up a GoFundMe that I had no idea about. But she raised the money. And while I was having an affair, she loved me that much.
Wow.
I was telling her to divorce me. She wouldn't hear nothing of it. I mean, there's people, in the church, friends, family, that, look, you just need to leave him. He's gone. She's like, I'm not leaving until God tells me to leave him. So I go to Warrior's Heart. And the night before, take a lot of pills, and I'd stop and got a fifth, and actually 2 fifths, and because I wanted to take all those pills before I go into rehab.
Right.
Unbeknownst to me, a lot of people do that. They've had people, they said, drink a case of beer at the gate. Mm-hmm. But I don't even remember checking in. But I detoxed for 7 days, and it was the hardest 7 days of my entire life. And there was people there that were shooting up meth and heroin, and they were detoxing in 3 days. But alcohol and benzos are they told me, absolutely the hardest to detox off of, especially when you've been drinking a long, long time.
Right.
And, I got out of detox, and I mean, I had all of it. I had the shakes. I couldn't even write my name hardly. I was just shaking so bad. And I didn't want to be in rehab. I hated every minute of it. I was able to say things in a group therapy kind of deal, and I would say it, and they would be like, I said the same thing to my wife. That's the exact reason I left, and there was no judgment, because all of us got there in a different way, but collectively, we were sitting on the same pile of shit.
We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
And I think that's one thing people don't realize, is that whether it's a first responder or a military person, it's, aside from a traumatic brain injury, it's a lot of the same stuff. Overactive parasympathetic nervous system, drinking and drugging, all of that. Most of us are the same, But I spent, not counting detox, 56 days in rehab. When I got out, I went straight to the bar. I don't abuse any of the meds I take now. I take exactly what I'm supposed to, for the most part. There's times where I have, when I get into somewhat, I think, of a crisis mode or just a lot of pain. But uh, Warrior's Heart, looking back, was what I needed for sure. You I wish that I would have been a better participant in it.
Right.
But I learned a lot, and it led me to quitting drinking. I'll tell you that. And knowing that it was okay to talk about stuff with somebody.
Right.
And there was men and women there, but it was a good thing. I've still got a guy that we talk to every day. So
Kind of like your support network in a way.
yeah, for sure. He's a really good dude. He's younger than I am, but he sends me some type of scripture every day, and then we'll text back and forth. He helps me more than I help him, I'm sure. But yeah, it was good. It was good for me.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So with everything that you've been through in your life, including now having kidney failure, how are you finding purpose today? And what message do you want others, especially first responders and veterans, to hear from you through your experience?
Yeah. So let me finish up the Warrior's Heart kind of deal.
Okay.
That I didn't go to. I got out. I went home. I stayed with my family for about 2 weeks. And I left again. Got my own place, sort of. But I picked up with that lady. Kept having an affair. So that started in September of 18. And the whole time, my wife, man, she kept telling me that she loves me and she forgives me, and I couldn't understand it, right? I couldn't understand that type of forgiveness, that type of love. But I ended up leaving that lady, got my own place, and then we really started talking. And I was seeing a trauma therapist and had been for ever since I got back. I found one that she was really good. And I would talk to her about Melanie, right? And so I told Melanie when we were talking, I said, look, I'll do anything for us to get back together. I said, if you want to meet with my trauma counselor, I've told her that she can tell you anything. And I said, if you want to meet together, she said she would do that. For her, that was a turning point because I would never have done that in the past. Never. And so we did some therapy sessions together. I kept going to see that lady. And we eventually moved back in. My kids talked to me because my kids wouldn't hardly talk to me. My youngest, she didn't talk to me at all for that time that we were split up.
Wow.
And my oldest, we didn't talk for a good while. And it took a lot of work. But even with everything that has gone on, our relationship, our marriage has never been better, and it is truly redemption in our relationship,
Right.
So one thing that I tell veterans, that I tell other first responders, is And that's why I'm doing this, right? Is I want people to look at me and think this dude's talking about everything. He ain't held out nothing probably.
Right.
If he can do it, I can do it. I can start a conversation. I can go see a therapist, right? And purpose is a really tough thing that you really take for granted. And ever since I left the fire service in 2005, I've not had a job or a business. And I've had, like, as far as outdoor stuff, they're dream jobs. But they've only lasted 4 to 4.5 years.
Right.
Since 2005 until 2025, I've not had a job or a business longer than 5 years. And I think when you whether you're a military person or you're a first responder, when you leave that job that had so much purpose, when you leave it, you have trouble finding purpose. You can't get it in a bottle. You can't get it in pills. You can't get it in drugs. You can't get it in people. So finding purpose has been really, really difficult. And people are like, well, your family. Yeah. But that's not the kind of purpose I'm talking about.
Right.
And unless you've been, for most people, unless you've been in the military, you've been, a first responder for a good bit, it won't make sense to you. It doesn't make sense to my wife. It doesn't make sense to my kids, right? It'll make sense to the people, to you, and it'll make sense to the people that listen to this or watch this.
Right.
It'll be crystal clear. And I've done some public speaking at some EMS conferences, some fire departments, some police departments. And just about every time, especially at the EMS conferences, and I take my wife and I tell, just like I told here, I tell it.
Mm-hmm.
And women are coming up, thanking her for being so strong. Dudes thank her, But there's always, some people waiting at the back of the room for me to get back there. And when we start talking, they're just letting it all out, crying. And I think it's because they thought that they were the only one.
Yeah.
Or they finally figured out that they can talk about it, and they're just dumping it right there, And for me, it's validation that that's what I need to be doing.
Exactly.
And recently, I've got two good friends that are former Tier 1 guys in the military. So I run things by them when I have thoughts as far as military and first responders, because I don't want to offend them.
Right.
I'm not worried about the people that I don't know, right? But so I said, look, conventional military, their deployments a year, and they might get deployed 1 or 2 times, sometimes a little bit more. And out of those people that got deployed, a lot of them don't see combat. And I said special operations, a lot of times it's 6 months, but it's a lot of deployments. I said a first responders deployment, if you will, is our entire career. 5, 6, 7 days a week for months at a time. You go on vacation and it never leaves your mind. You drive by a car wreck. Somebody passes out. You're still right there.
Right.
And y'all have the VA. Albeit the VA is broken. Needs a lot of work. Just like when I got out of the mental hospital. I didn't have any direction. I have nothing. At least y'all have direction. They can put forth a plan. You get old, you can get help. And it's not going to cost you anything. Most everybody that I work with, like I said, we've all had joint replacements, back surgeries, neck surgeries, shoulder surgeries, all from the job because we didn't have battery operated cots back then, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, yeah, man. He said, they were like, absolutely, y'all have it harder in that frame of mind. He said, none of us have to take care of kids and try and save a kid's lives. We don't have to tell a parent that their infant child is dead. You know, we kill people. We don't take care of them. That's why medics have such a hard time because they're trying to save these lives, right? So I said, well, I think we need something that's not a VA. It's something, I don't know what it is, that because, you know, we did this as a career, and when we get done, like, we have to figure out how to help ourselves. There need to be something for us that y'all did this for the community, you know, and because you did this, we think we're going to have something in place for you that's taken care of. Because, you know, first responders are more likely to die of suicide than an in the line of duty death. The numbers are high in the first responder community. They're higher for police, then fire, then EMS. And just like a military person shouldn't have to fight that battle alone, neither should we, right? And so I think my purpose, I finally figured out after all these years, is to share my story, educate people on the fact that your loved one, this is why they're going through this. You know, they can watch any podcast just about of something to do with the first responder, and they'll be like, that's exactly how my loved one is.
Right.
Exactly. Right? We can finish each other's stories. You know? And we've got to figure that out. And I think that's what my purpose is. To maybe keep somebody from trying to kill themselves, or a busted up marriage, damaged relationships after relationship after relationship, life after, you know, the job, that kind of thing. Because, you know, like being an alcoholic, it takes an alcoholic to help an alcoholic. So I think that it takes a rescuer to rescue other rescuers.
Right.
And my wife's on board with it, you know, and she just wants me to have purpose because she loves me, you know. So that's what my purpose has become.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. You know, having a purpose to help other first responders overcome basically the same thing that you went through
Mm-hmm.
is definitely an honorable purpose.
Yeah, what y'all doing matters.
Yeah.
You know, it's bigger than yourselves. And look, most people don't get to experience that. And depending on somebody with your life and knowing they depend on their life because you're there, it's a big deal. A big deal. But I think that there's starting to be a bigger voice for first responders. And I think that with that going forward, we need to capitalize on that. There's so much that's being brought out that first responders struggle with this, with PTS, and suicide rates are crazy for first responders. Depression is crazy in the first responder community. And we don't talk about it. You know, it's hard to bring it up at work. There's a vicious cycle. And that cycle is overtime because you don't get paid very much, even now. And so you work overtime. And inherently, that's not the best thing for us because we need some downtime. But you can't make the living that you want to make.
Right.
So your worry about going and talking to somebody at work or a therapist that's at work, you know, even though there's HIPAA laws and everything in place, we inherently don't trust them. We're not going to say anything because we think that the first thing that will happen is they'll get rid of our overtime, and then we can provide, right? So you just bite it out. You suck it up, you know? Now, I think that there are departments that are being very proactive. There's a lot of police departments that are very, very proactive. They have a wellness crew, you know? But amongst the fire and EMS, it's not so much. I mean, even the places that I worked, I've reached out, hey, you know, would you mind if I come and talk? Not really any interest, you know? Kind of blows my mind. But that's what happens is you work and you work and you work. Like me, the downtime for me was the worst, right? So I would pick up as much overtime as I could until I just couldn't do it anymore. You know, my last call was a car wreck, and I wasn't even supposed to, this is after a suicide attempt, I wasn't even supposed to be working on an ambulance. They were short, like most fire departments will run short crews. I said, sure, I got you. He said, you'll be last out in the city. And your relief will be here at 5 o'clock. I said, okay, I got you. I was working with a young paramedic. We get a call for a car wreck on the interstate. And as soon as we get there, or right before we get there, they tell us that 2 occupants had been thrown from the vehicle, and one of them was a kid.
Oh, man.
The guy I was working with asked me if I'd take the kid. I said, yeah, you know. And to this day, I don't know if it was a boy or a girl. I thought it was my daughter. Like, even today, I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl.
Right.
So I was coding my daughter in my mind, called for the helicopter, and they get there and they, you know, push some drugs and they call the code. And normally Like it would have been nothing, you know. I'm sitting there and just looking at that patient, and the state trooper opens the back door and says, "Did it die?" No problem, typically. But it was my daughter. I just lost it, and I come out of there, and I was wanted to grab him and get his pistol, and I wanted to kill him. And that was the last call I went on ever. I left the fire department not long after that, you know.
Wow.
And I have to drive by that location a lot. And that's the other thing, you know. Most veterans, their trauma is thousands of miles away, right?
Right.
Most of us, we go by ours every day, several times a day, you know? And those are things that people don't think about. I try and avoid going past a certain point south of me. And, you know, some days are good, some days aren't, you know? So it's tough. And I'm not unique in that.
You're definitely not alone.
Yeah. And that's what I want as many people to know that they're not alone,
Exactly.
you know? And that there's people out there that'll listen to them.
Yeah. We got people like you that'll listen. We're obviously here to listen.
That's right. We have to be really good listeners.
Yeah.
You know, so shut our mouth.
Like,
Yeah.
zip it closed.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
God created a top lip and a bottom lip for a reason. You bring those two together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, that's pretty much all I have for you today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we get off here?
No, I appreciate you. You know, every day there's a first responder somewhere that dies on the job, and I hate to hear about it. You know, you don't hear about the suicides, understandably, and
Right.
you know the numbers that they have is flawed because it's people that are still working. There's no keeping track of people that have left the job.
Right.
Unlike the military, they have the VA, and however it is that gets found out, right?
Mhm.
So who knows what these numbers are that we talk about? These percentages, they could be way, way higher. The people that don't work anymore, way higher.
Yeah, the numbers are definitely skewed because they're not getting accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, we got
accounts.
somehow there needs to be a system
Yeah.
to figure that out. So it starts here, like with a podcast,
Right.
and that's where it starts organically.
Right. Getting the word out
Yeah.
and hopefully helping other first responders know that they're not alone and, offering them a line of help, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's them talking to you or calling us,
Mm-hmm.
just calling the hotline or whatever.
Yeah, there's some great programs out there.
Yep.
You know, somebody just got to find them out. So,
Right.
but I appreciate what y'all do, man. It matters. Y'all matter.
Thank you.
You know,
Appreciate it.
it's hard work.
Yeah. We know that you guys go through a lot, and you give a lot to us. You guys were there for us in our darkest times. So we figured it's time for us to give back and be there for you guys when you need us the most.
Yeah, and you are. It's a great thing.
So, and this is in honor of my cousin. I mean,
Yep.
he died in the line of duty. He was killed by in a traffic stop. But
Mm.
that's,
Have you forgiven that person that killed him?
what's that?
Have you forgiven that person that killed him?
Oh yeah, I mean we've all forgiven him, but he's no longer with us either.
Yeah, sure. Nothing wrong with it. It's like, and forgiveness is about boundaries. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's no
You know,
longer with us anymore.
some people need to meet God sooner.
Yeah,
Figure out
His-
and learn
yeah.
what their fate's going to be.
yeah, his was 4 hours later.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah. So
It always works out, doesn't
yeah, that's
it? That's right. That's right. So, but awesome.
yeah, but through my cousin's spirit, we're giving back, and this is what he would want us to do.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
you know,
And you do a good job. I've listened
appreciate
to your podcast, and y'all do a good job.
that. Yeah, we do a lot of the producing. You hear a lot of the ads in the beginning and the intros and the introductions of the podcast. All the music and the writing is done by me.
Yeah.
And then some of the ads, Brianne will come up with the ads, and then I write the music for the ads,
Oh, cool.
and we put them together. And now we have paid ads that just pop up every once in a while.
Yeah.
So you can tell the difference between those.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big learning curve.
Yeah, we work hard at it, so everything's pretty organic and original from us.
Yeah. It shows, man.
Yeah,
The hard work shows.
yes.
Effort's everything.
And hopefully you've gotten something out of this. I definitely got something out of this
Yeah, for sure.
talking with you.
I appreciate it.
I know that we are talking about doing some conferences ourselves because we know that conferences are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But I know we would like to make our own conference to get people involved. So,
yeah.
If you like public speaking, we might be reaching out to you if you like to do
100%.
that.
I don't know how well I like it. I just know it's necessary.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but I'd do it just about every day if I thought that it would help somebody.
Right, exactly, and we want to make it affordable for people because I know it costs money to get these places and to get all the stuff set up. But like the one in Las Vegas, it would have costed us like $500 a person just to set up the podcast.
Sure.
Your podcast row and the vendors and that's just for the podcast row. Not to mention going in, that was like $300 something. I'm like, geez, it's way too expensive. You got to buy a plane ticket, and room and board, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how those things work. Internally. Do you get to a certain level where sponsorships will pay for it, or the host pays for it? I know some of the ones that I've done, they're fairly local, but if I have to, it's someplace where I'm going to stay overnight, they pay for the hotel. They'll have some kind of a gathering where there's food and those kinds of things.
Right.
And they'll pay a little bit per day or something.
Right.
I don't look to do it to make money. Just if you can pay for my expenses, I'm cool.
Right.
But
yeah, we're figuring out the logistics and all that stuff with that, and we're looking for sponsors, so we're gonna be hard at it, and it's gonna take at least anywhere from 16 to 18 months to plan out. So
for sure. Well, any help that I can be, you just let me know.
All right, brother.
So
we'd appreciate it.
Yeah. this is something separate and offline. So I'm sure cut it out. It's your deal. But would you be interested in talking to someone that trains service dogs and the benefits of service dogs to veterans and first responders?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. She's really good.
Mhm.
And I'll get you her contact info.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Yeah. So, but I'll pass on different things to you, and you do with what you want with them.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
anything that helps first responders and military veterans, we're all for it.
yeah, cool deal. So, if you hear of any good stuff from me, then shoot them my way.
All right.
That's how it works, right? So,
Awesome.
all right, bro.
Yeah. You have a good night, buddy.
You
And
too. Be safe.
tell your wife we said hi and we are grateful that she
Yeah,
put a boot to your butt to keep you going.
yeah, she does for sure. So, if I get out of line, she says, "Are you missing any meds?" So, yeah, man. All right, I appreciate it. Love y'all.
All right, brother. Love you too.
All right,
You
see you.
take care.
All right, man.
Good night. All right, everybody. That was Rob. Hopefully, you got something out of what he had said. I mean, with all of our guests, you get something out of it. But this one specifically deals with drug addictions and alcohol and the traumas of the job. So, I hope that you take to heart what he says. He's a great man. He's been through a lot. He knows how it is. So believe me when I say that just take it to heart. You can overcome anything you want to. And if you're struggling, please reach out. Don't hold it in. Don't hide it. Just seek help. Talk to somebody. And if you're somebody who sees somebody struggling, reach out to them and talk to them. Don't let them suffer in silence. All right, everybody. This is 8158 Podcast, Stories of Sacrifice. We hope you have a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of your week. God bless and love you all. Good night. Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.